It's Friday, September 20. In the headlines, FID to analyze the Integrity Commission's report on the Prime Minister's statutory declarations. In business news, Epley Limited has taken majority ownership of Epley Caribbean Property Fund Limited SCC Value Fund. Regionally, the Prime Minister unbothered by Haitian gangs' threats to Belize. And in sports, an update on some of the action in the ongoing Cricket Premier League. This is the weekend news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. The Financial Investigations Division, FID, says it will be analyzing the contents of the Integrity Commission's report on the financial affairs of Prime Minister Andrew Holness in accordance with the legislations that govern the FID's functions. In a statement to the press on Thursday, the FID confirmed receipt of the report, stating, quote, "The FID will undertake a comprehensive analysis of the Integrity Commission's report and determine what, if any, specific area may be probed in keeping with the mandate of the FID." End quote. In December 2021, the Integrity Commission and the Financial Investigations Division signed a memorandum of understanding aimed at fostering a strategic working relationship in which information sharing is at its core. In a report tabled in Parliament on Tuesday, the Integrity Commission said it referred matters relating to Prime Minister Andrew Holness's statutory declarations to the FID for further investigation. The Economic Program Oversight Committee, EPOC, is calling for a reintroduction of the wages and salary fiscal rule. The practice, if reinstated, could see the crafting of a fiscal rule that will clearly outline how much should be spent on public sector salaries and wages in relation to the country's gross domestic product. Speaking at the recent EPOC press brief, the committee's chairman, Keith Duncan, explained that a 9% wages to GDP ratio was removed in April 2023 when the Financial Administration and Audit Act was amended. He says the ratio continues to move in an upward manner and is now projected to be in the 12% to 13% range over the medium term.
And Jamaica needs to contemplate the reintroduction of the wages and salaries fiscal rule. Right? As GDP moderates and slows, wages and salaries, which were projected to be at 12.6% of GDP, would increase as GDP slows. With wages and salaries being already high and consuming at 44% of total tax revenues, Jamaica could continue to see this ratio in relation to revenue moving higher as economic activity slows along the growth of tax revenue.
He notes that public sector salaries increased last year to the tune of $139.3 billion at the start of the fiscal year, or April to June period.
These ratios are extremely worrisome as wages and salaries reduce fiscal flexibility, and if not controlled, could crowd out other areas of expenditure.
Despite government expenses marginally falling behind during the April to June period, amounting to $336.2 billion or $6.2 billion or 1.8% below the projected target due to lower than anticipated recurrent spending. Mr. Duncan is cautioning the government to remain prudent as it looks to complete outstanding negotiations with sections of the public sector and also move into new rounds of the wage negotiations for the upcoming 2025-2026 fiscal year.
As the GOJ completes outstanding negotiations with sections of the public sector and goes into a new round of wage negotiations in the upcoming 2025-26 fiscal year, it is important that growth in wages and salaries be kept lower or in line with growth in GDP to ensure that productivity levels are increased or maintained. What we saw was a public sector compensation restructuring. What we really need to see is a public sector transformation to get increased productivity from our public sector.
Epoch, in its review, however, said that as government continues to keep its macroeconomic affairs in order, the government of Jamaica plans to sell the future receivables that the Airports Authority of Jamaica collects from Norman Manley International Airport in the international capital markets. On Tuesday, as S&P Global Ratings revealed its plans, it gave Kingston Airport Revenue Finance LLC, King Air, an initial credit rating of BB with a stable outlook, a notch above Jamaica's own sovereign credit rating of BB-. This AAJ receivables transaction also represents the first known instance that the Jamaican government has done this kind of securitization on the international markets, and comes almost a year after the country issued a 46.6 billion Jamaican dollar linked international bond, which is equivalent to 300 million US dollars. The PBCJ understands that the use of proceeds wasn't mentioned in the document, but the funds would be available for the GOJ to use in any of its desired projects. Ivoline Nicky was born in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Her parents were Annie and Dawson Nicky. Ivoline Nicky was a community teacher and a mother to many. She is a founder of the Annie Dawson Home of Children, and she lives to serve. She is a community hero.
My home was the home where all the children who ran into difficulties, whatever type, whether abandonment or sexual abuse or whatever it was, they were just gathered and brought to mommy. I came to Jamaica to study, to be an officer of the Salvation Army.
Why social work?
What my mother did, teaching people who were not literate in her bedroom, because she kept it private. It was when my mother passed and I left Jamaica. We knew she did counseling. We knew she visited a number of shut-ins and wrote letters for people who were not literate or were very elderly and had children abroad. You know, in that time when everybody was heading to England and elsewhere to look for a livelihood, you left your parents behind, you needed somebody. She did that for a significant part of her life. And I was impressed by that. Sometimes myself and my older sibling, the one I followed, would be the ones taking meals for these shut-ins and so on. At Christmas time, she tried to bring them together, but apart from that, we had to take it before we ate.
How did you get into foster care, though?
It was actually when I retired. As a matter of fact, I brought my dad to Jamaica after mommy passed, and I wasn't convinced that he was getting the kind of attention he deserved, because I would always be in the Eastern Caribbean and elsewhere for meetings. I served on a number of regional boards, NGOs, and so on. I would always slip over to see how things were going firsthand. And when I was not happy, I brought Daddy to Jamaica. So when I offered to start this home, it was because I heard an appeal at my retirement. Leading up to my retirement, I heard the government of Jamaica appealing for help in this area. And I said, well, this is something I dreamt of doing from childhood. What do I have to offer now? I am, almost at the end of my ropes, but maybe I still have something that I could contribute to the young children and the teens as they were growing up. So that is how I went into that time it was called Child Development Agency with my proposal, which was accepted gladly, and that's how I started the home at the beginning of retirement. But I started planning for it, buying beds, buying whatever, storing them, because I couldn't approach like Food for the Poor or any other entity. How would they trust me? What do they know about me? So I did it. I used up my retirement money and started the home. Currently, we have 30 children. We have an 8-month-old. Normally, we don't cater to children so young, but we had a situation where there were 5 children to a family, and they called, meaning the child protection, and they just brought them. And there was this little baby. Well, of course, they went to court, and because we're not licensed to keep boys, you know, the 2 little boys were removed to somewhere else. Very sadly, there was a lot of tears between them, but we kept the 2 within the age range that we catered to for accepting, and the little baby. They allowed the baby to stay, which was 7 months at the time. The baby's now 8 months, going on 9 months. Here at Annie Dawson, yes, it's like a real home, a model home. Mom is here, grandmother is here, aunties are here. I live here with my children. They can knock on my door any hour of night, you know, any child. So we cater to their spiritual and emotional, their educational needs, their social needs. Yes, we go to picnics, you know. Everybody look forward to the one, especially before back to school in September and so on. And so we ensure that their spiritual needs are catered to. And all the social activities, we get help. For example, we have children doing PEP exam. We try to find help. We have children who are blind. We have to find readers for them to help them to do the best that they can do in their setting. So you think about anything you would want for your child, we try to find it. And if we don't have it, we ask for help.
If someone wants to contribute to your cause, how do they contact you?
836-8054 is one of them. And the landline, 633-3467. As well as you can contact us through email, anniedawsonchildren@gmail.com. And we would like help in the area of food. Our children are teenagers, half of the population, and the other half at that age to that eats very well.
Time now for the business report with Denise Williams.
Good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Business Report. I'm Denise Williams, your guide through the latest happenings in the world of business. Investment firm Epley Limited has taken greater shareholding in its sister company, Epley Caribbean Property Fund Limited, SCC-Value Fund, otherwise called ECPF. The company said it purchased shares constituting approximately 18.7% of ECPF's outstanding shares listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange and the Barbados Stock Exchange on September 13, 2024 through Epley Fund Managers Limited, a wholly owned subsidiary of Epley Limited. ECPF is the largest listed real estate mutual fund in the Caribbean, owning 39 properties comprising 1.2 million square feet across Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, and St. Vincent. If your career is your main source of income, you want to ensure the power of your purse or wallet grows. In this interview with Dr. Carolyn Hale, labor market specialist, we discuss 3 ways to plan for career growth that should be at the top of your mind as you progress in your employment. And as we continue to look at your career as a way to improve the power of your purse or your wallet, we have invited Dr. Carolyn Hale, labor market specialist, to give us 3 definitions that impact your career. So the first one is the employee improvement plan. The second definition is the individual development plan, and the third one is the performance improvement plan. If you're using your career as your main source of income, what's the impact of those 3 ideas on earning more?
Okay, well, the employee development plan is when you sit with your employer and determine where you are now and where you need to go to move up through the company. So they will map that, and that goes to the training, goes into the training budget and the training the assessment that they do, and that's company-wide. The individual development plan is your personal plan that determines who you are, what you're about, understanding yourself, and setting your goals for where you want to be long term until you finish working or you whenever you decide that is. And the performance improvement plan is not such a good thing. It means that you have not been meeting the targets that the employer has set, that you have mutually agreed to achieve, and so they put you on an improvement plan. It does not mean that they're necessarily going to terminate, but it means that you are falling below standard and need to pull your socks up.
Okay.
So it's a signal to you that all is not well, I need to do better.
Okay, and if I want to improve the power of my purse or wallet, earn more, build my financial table, which one of the 3 should I put my energy towards?
The individual development plan.
And that one you can do online or with a coach?
Online, they can do with a coach, or they can talk to me if they want. You flesh out where you want to be.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Hale.
You're welcome.
During trading for period September 19, 2024, the following companies represent the top 3 most active stocks that investors bought and sold on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Media conglomerate Radio Jamaica Limited with 20,333,570 units represents 52.16% of the total market volume in terms of sales. Cigarette distributor Carreras Limited with 3,628,793 units represents 31% of the total market volume in terms of sales. Toll road operator Trans Jamaica Highway Limited with 2,501,628 units represents 6.42% of the total market volume in terms of sales. Moving from the money moves of investors, executives, and companies on the stock market, we turn to the Forex market. On September 19, 2024, the Bank of Jamaica reported that US $75.41 million was bought from Forex traders, while US $78.46 million was sold to Forex traders. Buying directly from the Bank of Jamaica, foreign currency traders sold the US dollar for $157.66 and bought the US dollar for $158.77. The difference between the buy and sell rate was $1.11, which represents a profit for Forex traders for every US dollar traded. Canadian Forex traders earned a trading profit of $1.41 from transactions with the Bank of Jamaica. The Canadian dollar was sold at $115.95 and bought for $114.54. For traders looking at the British pound, they pocketed a profit of $5.34, selling it for $211.67 and buying it for $204.30. For the credit report tip of the day, if you're dealing with a poor credit score and you have high interest rate loans, it can feel overwhelming. But the good news is that with the right strategies, you can turn it around and start qualifying for lower interest rate loans. So 2 strategies we suggest is to diversify your credit mix. Lenders prefer to see a variety of credit types, such as an installment loan like an auto loan, and a revolving credit like credit cards. Additionally, you can take out a secured loan or credit card. A secured credit card or loan can help you rebuild your credit while reducing the risk to the lender. And with that, we wrap up today's business report. I'm Denise Williams. Appreciate your company. Stay well informed. Stay ahead of the curve. Until our next update, take care.
In regional news, in St. Lucia, climate change remains a dire threat to the island and the Caribbean. At the recent German-Caribbean climate talks, Dr. James Fletcher stressed the urgent need for more funding to address the growing damage.
Dr. James Fletcher, a former climate negotiator, highlighted the years-long struggle for a dedicated loss and damage fund during the presentation at the German-Caribbean climate talks.
This discussion on loss and damage started in 1991, when AOSIS, the Alliance of Small Island States, actually proposed an insurance mechanism to address sea level rise and other impacts, loss and damage from sea level rise and other impacts of climate change, 1991. Okay, I'm trying to do this through a window and it's not working very well. Then we have the Bali Action Plan in 2003, I think it was, 4. And then this will just, in the interest of time, we'll just go through quickly to show you the major milestones along the way, to show you how we got to where we are right now, which is the establishment of a loss and damage fund.
Dr. Fletcher detailed the devastating human loss of climate change, citing the impact of extreme weather events on vulnerable populations.
Dominica in 2015, when Tropical Storm Erica hit, that caused damage equivalent to over 90% of Dominica's GDP. 2 years later, when Hurricane Maria hit, over 200% of Dominica's GDP was lost in the space of 24 hours. When Irma hit the BVI, over 300% of damage, the 300% GDP damage to that country. So you could go from looking really good one day to being completely devastated the next day. That is a reality that Caribbean countries have to face every single hurricane season. Climate-related disasters are disproportionately bad for poorer households, and they also are much more impactful, fatal on low-income populations. So you see again the disparity. We have an intra-generational issue here.
Dr. Fletcher indicates the present financing severely undershoots required levels. He pointed out the vast discrepancy between the $700 million allocated to the Loss and Damage Fund and the estimated annual cost of $435 billion.
This was some work done by UNCTAD, the United Nations Conference for Trade and Development. It shows that the initial capitalization of the Loss and Damage Fund should be $150 billion a year. Last year, we got a capitalization of $700 million. Okay, so what we saw last year, as promising and impressive as it was, only represents 0.2%.
Last week, 2 Belize Defense Force officers arrived in Haiti as part of a UN-backed mission to help restore security and pave the way for free and fair elections. However, Haitian gang leaders have issued warnings to Belize and other CARICOM nations against intervening. Prime Minister John Briceño has responded to the threats.
Belize is trying very hard to assist Haiti in their relief efforts, but the gang leaders of Haiti have threatened Belize, which has offered to send soldiers. How are we navigating this?
Well, I don't think that the Haitian gangs have any gangs in Belize, I don't give it too much attention. I think that our brothers and sisters in Haiti need help. I think it's tragic what's going on, the lawlessness that have overtaken Haiti. And we need to do our little part. I mean, we're not going to send 1,000 soldiers. Right now, what we did is send 2 soldiers to look at the logistics and see if we will go to the next point. There's a 10-point list that the Minister of Defense have brought to Cabinet and said until these 10 points are met, we will not send any of our soldiers into Haiti.
Head of the Energy Chamber of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Thackeray Driver, backs efforts to reduce electricity subsidies, assuring that it won't necessarily lead to a significant rise in customer bills. Sunil Lala has the details.
President and CEO of the Energy Chamber of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Thackeray Driver, said he believes this country must move to reduce the electricity subsidy. Speaking at a pre-budget forum, he said it is something that should be looked at to ensure efficient use of the country's natural gas supply.
We've got to be realistic that we have to remove the subsidy on electricity in the country natural gas is subsidizing. We're putting incredibly cheap natural gas into the electricity sector, which we could be earning a lot more forex for if we put it into the petrochemical sector and the LNG sector. We need to remove that subsidy. It'll help drive energy efficiency. An increased rate does not mean a higher bill if you implement energy efficiency policies.
But he said there's no reason why the most vulnerable cannot still be subsidized.
Leave the subsidy in place for the poorest households. There's a good reason to subsidize electricity for the poorest households, but better off households in the top tariff levels do not need an electricity subsidy, and commercial businesses should be paying the market rate for the natural gas. Still means we'll have very cheap electricity compared to the rest of the region.
Meanwhile, President of the Greater San Fernando Area Chamber of Commerce, Kiran Singh, says while the subsidy should be reduced, government should have taken a different approach.
But we're also aware of many large corporations that owe TNTech many millions of dollars. And how are they going about collecting on those debts before going after residential and commercial customers to increase their rates?
Dr. Driver, though, believes there could be an increase in the rate for businesses without affecting the final price to consumers.
There's a 40% reduction that most businesses can make to their electricity bill. So you could increase the price by 40% without it actually impacting your current bottom line if you implement those policies.
In sports, we start on the pitch with cricket. Trinidad and Tobago truly is a home of carnival, and that was most evident in the atmosphere at the Queen's Park Oval last night when the Trinbago Knight Riders handed the defending champion, the Guyana Amazon Warriors, a 5-wicket drubbing for their second successive defeat in the Republic Bank CPL.
It was now time for the familiar curry chicken versus chicken curry clash in the CPL, and batting first, the Amazon Warriors posted 148 for 7 from their 20 overs. The Warriors win a spot of bother by the 12th over, when TKR reduced them to 76 for 7, thanks to quick strikes from Sunil Narain, 2 for 24, and Raka Salam Keel, 2 for 19. Romario Shepherd struck a blistering 51 not out from 24 deliveries, which included 4 sixes to help his team reach a respectable total from 47 balls. But Andre Superman Russell strode to the crease and belted newcomer Nathan Sauter for 3 sixes in the 17th over to swing the game back in TKR's favour. Tim David struck 2 lofty sixes in the final over to take TKR to victory with 4 balls to spare. Russell was not out on 36 from 15 balls, and David 31 from 24. TTT Sport caught up with the player of the match, Andre Russell, following the win.
Andre, congratulations. What a knockout there today. What was your plan coming in with the score where it was when you came in?
Walking out the bat with Tim David. When I walk out, I said to him, "What's your mindset?" And he's like, "Let's try and get as much sixes as possible. We are capable of doing it." And I said, I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking 8 sixes from the 20 plus balls that remain. And, I think we get somewhere close to maybe 7, 8 sixes, maybe. So I think once you have power and in the back end of the game when guys looking to go get rolling, I think that's something that I've been doing for years. He's been doing it for years. And we know what we're capable of. So once we don't think about the amount of balls remain, we think about just getting 8 sixes or 10 sixes. So very, very good night for all of us tonight.
TKR will return to the Queen's Park Oval tonight to take on the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons. First ball is at 7 p.m. Wayne Cunningham, TTT Sport.
And that's it for the weekend news on PBCJ. Pleasant viewing.